Let's talk about this picture. On the left, you'll have mom and her daughter, and on the right, you'll have me. Do you notice anything funny about this picture? Well, it might not be funny because a lot of times when I meet with families, they come in with pretty unpleasant feelings. Feelings of frustration, of pressure, or of guilt. Like, for example, in this picture, mom dragged her daughter into clinic to see me. The daughter had no idea that she had an appointment. She didn't want to see me at all. And the night before, the mom and the daughter had a fight because mom noticed that the daughter had been sneaking foods that she shouldn't have been eating. So a lot of times when this happens, the question comes up of whose responsibility is it to make healthier choices in eating and how active you are. Because in this example, mom and daughter are pretty much finger pointing. So in order to answer this question, I want to talk about 3 examples of the types of interactions that I see in clinic. So one would be the picky eater. The picky eater is the person who only likes chicken nuggets and french fries and doesn't like any fruits and vegetables. What ends up happening is that parents are short order cooking. They're making multiple meals just so that their child or their teen will eat. They're catering to their likes and dislikes. They just kind of gave up on providing any fruits or vegetables because they're picky eaters and they're not going to eat it. The second example are the parent police. Parent police are parents that take it upon themselves to really police the kinds of foods that are eaten by their child. So if they see that their child is eating more of the foods that they're not supposed to, it causes pressure, maybe frustration, and it creates this category of forbidden foods. And what those foods end up turning into is food sneaking. The third example are the parent teens. So parent teens, it's kind of the idea that a teenager will use their allowance to buy food outside of the home. They won't eat with their family. They'll be grazing and snacking. They don't have any real clear meal or snack times, and oftentimes this is because their parents are very stressed, they're very busy, and so that teen ends up taking much of the food or eating responsibilities for themselves. So for the picky eater, the parent police, and the parent teen, or anything related, I'd really like to offer a solution or an alternative, which is called the division of responsibility in feeding. So the division of responsibility for toddlers through adolescence is that the parent is responsible for when, what, and where their teen or child eats. The child is responsible for how much or whether or not they eat. This is based on the fundamental idea that parents' jobs are to trust their child in determining how much they want to eat of what the parents provide. This kind of goes against the Clean Your Plate Club, and it really emphasizes or shows that child or teen to listen to their bodies and eating when they're hungry and kind of stopping when they're full. Or eating something that they really like just because it gives them a lot of satisfaction, and later on they'll eat less food. But when the parents step in, it starts to snowball this dieting idea, and then the child or teen then becomes adults that don't know those signals or cues. So when parents are doing their job of feeding and the children are doing their jobs of eating, what are the things that you shouldn't do? Well, your child or teen will probably feel hurt, get scared, or genuinely eat too much if you hold back on the food, if you try to control his or her portion size, if you try to restrict high-fat, high-sugar foods and create this category of forbidden foods. Going back to that parent police example, this child might food sneak some of these forbidden foods, push low-calorie food, even use it in a reward sense, like eat your vegetables before you can have dessert. Feed him or her differently from other family members. That causes a lot of pressure and frustration. Or give him or her a look when she or he seems to eat a lot. So you have the children's eating jobs and you have the parents' feeding jobs. Again, the children's eating jobs is that they know the amount, they know how much they need. They'll learn to eat from their foods that their parents eat. So they will be learning based on the parents' modeling. And they'll grow predictably. So for the parents that feel really nervous about allowing their child to skip a meal because they don't like the food that's in front of them, the idea is that they will grow appropriately, that they will make up for that missed meal later in the day. And what this does is that maintains that structure and that division of responsibility in feeding. The last thing that the child, it's kind of eating jobs, is that they'll learn and behave well at meal times eventually, hopefully, right? And then for the parents' feeding jobs, they choose and prepare the foods. They provide regular meals and snacks. When the kitchen is closed, it really is closed. If they're hungry and it's after snack time or after dinner time, that just means that they have to manage how much they eat at those meal times. Eating times are pleasant and everyone's present, which means that if there are distractions, that at least for the meal times, to unplug. Parents will step-by-step show their children an example of how to behave at family meal times. They'll be considerate of their child's lack of experience, but they won't cater to likes or dislikes. And what I mean especially is if it's like 10 minutes before the meal or even during the meal and they say, I actually don't like this food, to not cater into that because that will turn you into a short order cook. To not let children have food or beverages except for water between meals and snack times. Again, this is because parents are responsible for when and where their child eats. And finally, parents' feeding job is to let children grow up to get bodies that are right for them. So for more information, you can check out the Ellen Satter Institute. A lot of this information is on there, including a lot of other resources, especially if you want a handout on the division of responsibility in feeding. It's provided in English and Spanish.